New at 9 tonight, the Republican presidential candidate Scott Walker sits down only with WGN.
Wisconsin governor was in Chicago today to raise money and meet with voters. Well, WGN's Mike Lowe spoke with him after an event at the Billy Goat Tavern, and you had quite the tete-a-tete, huh?
Yes, it was the first one-on-one he's done with anybody locally here in Chicago, and the Billy Goat Tavern was a great place for it. Almost everybody in Chicago knows the Billy Goat is one of the famous hangouts of the legendary Chicago Tribune columnist Mike Royko. Royko famously needled the elected leaders he covered, so we thought a quotation from Royko about politicians would be an appropriate place to start. The great columnist Mike Royko, who once wrote, and I want to get this quotation right, he said that politicians are the rich, smoke-belching, industrial fat cats. What do you think he would say about Scott Walker?
Pretty good shape. I don't smoke, and I'm certainly not rich. I had a cheeseburger, but I'm certainly not rich.
He was someone who...
Oh, another one. Look at that. He's all about advertising.
There you go. You may very well be one of the fat cats by the end of this interview.
By the end of the interview, exactly.
Governor Rauner, who rose to power saying he wanted to emulate what you did in Wisconsin, now finds himself in a budget standoff. Looking at a government shutdown, your advice beats him, because I know you always kind of fashioned yourself as a political strategist.
So I talked to him again today. I've checked in with him. I've encouraged him along the way. I think he needs to hang firm. My advice to him is get out of the Capitol, go around the state, make the case from Chicago to Springfield, from Rockford down to Carbondale and everywhere in between. Make the case to the voters, to the actual citizens of this state, about why you're trying to do things that think not about the next election, but about the next generation.
You've been asked about this probably a million times since Donald Trump made the remarks.
Then today I read this horrible statement from his fundraiser about Trump. I said, oh, finally I can attack.
How do you respond to that?
Well, I've said consistently throughout this race, even before Trump was in, that I'm going to let the other candidates speak for themselves. I'm going to tell people what I'm for.
You're in the home of Mike Ditka, who is a well-known conservative. Will you ask for his endorsement?
Absolutely. My mom is a diehard, lifelong Cubbies fan. You know, she goes all the way to glorifying Ernie Banks along the way.
Well, then let me finish up on another Mike Royko quote about the Cubs. He said, most people in the world either view themselves as glass half full or glass half empty people. He said Cubs fans are just waiting for the glass to spill. How would you describe your worldview? I mean, you have to be an optimist.
Oh, you got to be. I love it. I mean, as much as people are frustrated with the economy not growing faster, with the national debt and deficit issues, with our standing in the world and in the Middle East and elsewhere, the truth is, I love America.
And Walker attended a fundraiser in Chicago tonight. A couple of Chicago financial heavyweights, Todd Ricketts, the brother of the Cubs chairman, and Ken Griffin, the CEO of Citadel Investment Group, are both backing Walker. And from Chicago, the governor takes his campaign to Philadelphia.
Now, it's well known that Rauner has patterned how he's dealing with unions with the way Walker did, famously or infamously, in Wisconsin. Did he comment on how Rauner's handling the union situation?
He thinks, we said there was one big difference between what happened in Wisconsin and what's happening here in Illinois. In Wisconsin, Governor Walker had a Republican legislature that essentially passed through everything he did. So this standoff is completely different. But he said the advice, and he spoke with Rauner today, he said, you got to stand pat and take your message to the people, because it's whoever the public turns on, that's going to be the loser, and whoever the public sides with, that's the winner in this. So we could be in for a long summer in Illinois, and Governor Walker's advice is to stand pat for Governor Rauner.
Mike Lowe, thank you.